Okay. So this time, let's see. So we now have access to elites. So this is a flamer, which actually... Did we see any flamers in the campaign? We did, obviously, Mass Effect 2 all the time. But I don't know if we ever saw a flamer Geth in Mass Effect 3 campaign. We may not have. They're pretty nasty. They are pretty nasty, but they are not even close range as much as they're deceptively more of a medium range type of enemy, but they don't have anything from long range. So, I mean, biotics are pretty effective against them. They do have shields. Once you get rid of the shields, then you can deal a lot of damage to their armor with biotic explosions, so that's something. Whereas, out of curiosity, we're talking Cerberus on... Ooh, yep, on elites. That shows Phantoms. Phantoms are very strong. Arguably the strongest Cerberus unit, even if the Super Elite is maybe going to show the Atlas. Now, Phantoms are probably more dangerous than Atlases, to be honest. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm thinking we probably go and stick with Geth and go... Sure, we'll amp it up a little bit. We'll go elites here. And so we can activate the no metagel, which gives us a 10% score multiplier. Combining that with our first time on elite will, of course, make things a little bit tougher, but I mean, we had a lot of success on this map against Geth in particular, so maybe. If it ain't broke, don't fix that. But in terms of our squad mates, we surprisingly made a not very good against shields team work pretty well, in large part just because we spammed grenades whenever we were just trying to get rid of people as quickly as possible. So that's certainly an option. In terms of anyone that we feel like we would really like to use here, we've not yet used Tali, and she is generally quite good against Geth. So that might not be a bad idea to get her in here. And then Liara, not the best against Geth because she, much like us, is not great against shields. So, I mean, we could go Tali plus Garrus. That is, of course, not our single most common team. Garrus plus Liara was, but it's probably our second most common team. We have mixed it up a bit already with some of the characters we've not used much. We have, of course, also unlocked Miranda. So perhaps we could go Tali plus Miranda. Miranda, I was saying, is really strong. But we are throwing on some additional difficulty multipliers. So maybe getting Miranda out here is a good idea. So why don't we go Miranda plus Tali? So yeah, elites, Geth, same arena, but higher difficulty, no metagels, and Miranda and Tali. And this will be our first time ever using Miranda in Mass Effect 3. But as I was saying, she is really strong, so I'm looking forward to that. Let's, however, make sure that we set up her weapons here, because as I said, we've not yet played her in Mass Effect 3, so she's just going to be starting with the default weapons, which is not ideal. So for her, why don't we... So she has SMGs and pistols, so that's really her greatest weakness, is just that she doesn't have access to particularly strong types of weapons, unless, I mean, not to knock the pistols or SMGs, we are, of course, primarily using pistols and SMGs ourselves, but it does require to get a decent setup here, and I'm thinking, once again, we're probably going for the Scorpion here. I think Talon could potentially be better, also would be fitting, because this is actually a Cerberus weapon, and obviously Miranda used to work for Cerberus. Executioner, if it were upgraded, both of those might be preferable to the Scorpion, but the Scorpion is upgraded, and so probably stick with it for that reason. And go extra damage. It can't pierce. There aren't too many options, but Power Magnifier makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, it's really still only rank 3. Wow. That's unfortunate, because we're using that for ourselves, even. Then for the SMG, I mean, we can go Hurricane, and we probably are not going to make this any more complicated than it has to be. Hornet is also a Cerberus weapon, so you could go double Cerberus weapon, which would be, again, kind of fitting, but it's not that highly upgraded, so I think we'll pass. And technically speaking, the heatsink and the stability, or recoil system, or stability, are the two best ways to maximize the damage for the Hurricane. And then Tally, you should be good. We went with the Wraith most recently for you in the shotgun spot. We could mix it up. That is actually one shortcoming of this team that we selected here, is that neither character has a squad ammo ability. So we just aren't going to have any ammo abilities active at all for this match. But hopefully we have enough shields damage anyway that that's not going to be a huge factor. And for Tally, the Wraith is a good all-rounded weapon. Now, depending on which arena you're going in, you might specifically be tailored more for a close-range encounter or a longer-range encounter. Don't really think that this one is particularly long or short range. It's kind of a little bit of everything. So Wraith probably does make sense, but you could make the case for going for something like the Crusader if it's more of a long-range map, Claymore, which we still have yet to fully upgrade, unfortunately, so probably more likely the Piranha, which I think we partially upgraded. Yeah, for a close-range map, or Venom, but I think Wraith is our all-purpose weapon, and I think that makes sense here. And because we don't have, say, incendiary ammo, the Rieger doesn't make as much sense here as it did in the previous encounters. So let's stick with this. Okay, and I think we're good to go. So this will be our most challenging one yet for sure, because not only did we amp up the types of enemies that we're going to encounter, but also we made it so that we can't use metagels. We haven't needed metagels since the first or second encounters, so maybe that's just because we're starting to get the hang of things, but with more enemies like pyros and what have you, we might find this quite a bit trickier. But before we jump in, Shepard is good to go. Tally is pretty much good to go. Probably would have preferred to not invest that much in Sabotage and gone all the way down for the drone specialist, but then again, her cooldown on her drone powers is already quite fast, so maybe increasing it, or rather decreasing it by 100% wouldn't have made that much of a difference. And Sabotage, specifically against Geth, can be very, very good, turning them against their squad mates, and for Pyros in particular, it's amazing. So that is going to be one of, if not the most important things that Tally has in her toolbox here. Then here's Miranda. Now, why is she so great? Why was I talking her up before? Because she starts out with more HP than many other characters do. So that's a minor thing. But the big thing is mostly Overload, arguably the best tech ability. Warp, almost certainly the best biotic ability. Incinerate, probably the best fire-based ability. Reeve, one of the other best biotic abilities. To have all of those on the same character is just insane, because she can prime and detonate tech. She can prime and detonate biotics, like really anything can detonate with Warp. She can prime and detonate fire. She can multi-prime biotic with Reeve. There is basically nothing that Miranda cannot do, and so the only problem is that there's only so many skill points you can use on her, and there are a whole bunch of abilities that you would love to have fully upgraded, but of course, at some point, somewhere, we're going to have to draw the line and say, okay, well, we can't have everything all at once. So, oddly enough, I think that you could make the case that maybe getting rid of something, or not investing in something like Reeve, since she does already have another biotic ability in Warp, so that's kind of double dipping between these two a little bit. But bear in mind that Warp cannot detonate itself, and obviously we also have Warp as Shepard, so we don't have access to Reeve. Having someone who can use Reeve with the Radius ability to multi-prime, as in prime multiple people, simultaneously with one skill, and then use something like Cluster Grenade is the ideal combo. You Reeve to set up multiple biotic explosions, and then you Cluster Grenade, which can detonate multiple biotic explosions per grenade. That is just ridiculous damage, if you can get the Cluster Grenade to land in the right spot, which is, not always a given. But that is probably reason enough for us, as an adept at least, to get Reeve fully invested here. Whereas, if you're not looking to pull off as many biotic combos, perhaps you say, alright, Warp is sufficient, we won't invest any more in Reeve. But what I'm getting at here is, I'm thinking we might actually not invest any more in her passive, which, as usual, would mean health and shields or damage of some variety, biotic damage or tech damage, and then either squad bonus for tech and biotic power damage, or the recharge speed of squad mate shields. It's not bad by any means. It's just that everything is so good that it really takes some nitpicking to decide what you do and do not choose to take for her. We're definitely going overload because that is our key weakness as an adept, so we absolutely will be relying on her to get rid of shields. Not as urgent when we have Tally in the squad as well, but that's not always going to be the case. So for this, usually what you're looking to do is get one chain from somewhere and then stack up damage elsewhere. So there's a chain at rank 4 and there's also an additional chain at rank 6 you can take. But I generally prefer to go chain here at rank 4 because we're talking the opportunity cost is 30% damage here, which is good but not great, whereas the opportunity cost here for shields and barriers is 100% damage, which is huge. And generally you're going to be using overload on enemies that have shields and barriers, especially with Miranda, because if they don't have shields or barriers, you have other abilities that are going to be more effective and you're going to use those instead. So let's go chain here. Then Neural Shock, which incapacitates weaker organic enemies for a short duration. Technically, against synthetics, this recharge speed is better, but Neural Shock, it doesn't say it on the description, but it actually hits organic enemies twice, doubling the damage against them, which is insane. So they might need to have shields, but again, you're going to be using this ability on enemies that have shields. So it's not going to be perfect against Geth, which is going to be our current opponent, but in other situations, this is definitely going to be the right way to maximize damage. And also, of course, get that incapacitation, which is really nice for crowd control. And so we took the chain here. You can go for all-out chaining, which is technically one of the best ways to get a bunch of tech or fire combo detonations happening all at once. But it can't detonate biotics. And since we're most often priming and detonating biotics, probably just going to settle for the single additional chain so we can get two combos from one skill, but not 3. Especially because, yes, you're setting off the detonation with it, but it is 60% less damage here, and then not only do you get the initial 60% less, you get that times another 0.4, so it's 16% damage on this third chain. So it is measly, tiny little damage. It is almost entirely there for the detonation and crowd control, but direct damage from the skill without any combos going off, and it is almost non-existent. So for that reason, yeah, we're going to go for the extra 100% damage to shields and barriers, making it so that if you hit organic enemies that have a shield or a barrier, the damage is just astronomically high. The recharge speed, honestly, that's going to be Miranda's biggest weakness, I think, is 12.8 makes me a little nervous. I wish it was just a little bit faster than that, because it's just so good. The combination of things she has, just so good. As I was saying, Warp, amazing ability. Detonate for the extra damage on the combos. Then Expose for the debuff and additional damage. Then Pierce for the additional debuff. That is pretty much always going to be your Warp setup, regardless of the character. Then Incinerate and Reeve. So I think, unfortunately, we need to take one of these to rank 5, or one of them to rank 6. One of them can only go up to rank 5. As I was saying, technically speaking, because she has access to 2 biotic abilities, perhaps we don't put quite as much emphasis on Reeve, because she kind of already has that covered. Again, since we have Warp as well, and Warp cannot detonate another Warp, it does mean that if we Warp, she's not going to be able to detonate unless we invest in Reeve, or if she uses Warp, we're not going to be able to detonate that priming. With our Warp, we're going to need to use something else like a Throw. Obviously, Throw works. She doesn't have Throw, so I mean, we can make it work. It's just going to take a little bit of thought to make sure that we don't accidentally throw 2 Warps out there and expect an explosion that's just never going to come. So then for the Incinerate, I think with the Radius you can detonate and prime. Detonate one enemy and prime one enemy with one use, but you can't detonate multiple and you can't prime multiple. I don't think, if I remember correctly. So for that reason, I think we're probably just going for the damage. And we can go for burning damage for even more damage, or we can go for the recharge speed. 12.8, just about 13 seconds, or 10.5-ish seconds, 10 and 2/3 seconds, repeating, of course. As I was saying, such amazing powers that I just wish the cooldowns that she had were slightly faster so that we could be throwing these things out more rapidly. But I think you're probably still going to be taking the damage here. Then lastly, the freeze combo for a huge damage boost against frozen enemies. We just don't have a consistent way to freeze enemies right now. So it's going to be the additional 50% armor damage. And so this is obviously her armor ability. So she has Overload for barriers and shields. Both Warp and Incinerate work for armor. Warp actually works for barriers as well, but I think Overload probably going to be slightly better for that. Incinerate for armor, as we said. Reeve, mostly just going to be to prime warps, either for her or for us. The Reeve is probably, the duration is not going to last long enough for her to prime it for herself. Even if we take duration here, improve the recharge speed, it's still 7-second duration with a 10-second cooldown. It's still not going to happen. So, you know, it's priming for us, and it's primarily going to be priming for the cluster grenade. But let's see. So as I said, I think this is the one that we're going to only take up to rank 5. So we can either go for the duration here or the radius. And so the duration actually is more significant than it might initially seem, because you can, in fact, stack additional Reeves on the same enemy if you have enough duration and quick enough cooldown to make that happen. As we just said, she doesn't. But, you know, if you have, you know, a 5-second cooldown and a 10-second duration, then you can get multiple Reeves and the damage does stack on the same enemy. But since it's not going to work here for her, I think it probably makes sense to go for the radius, because Reeve can prime an unlimited, I think it's an unlimited number of enemies, as long as they're within the radius. And 3 meters, I mean, it's not huge, but it is certainly capable of priming multiple people, and again, that's why it works so well with Cluster Grenade in particular. Or, as a plan B, a double throw certainly works as well. Then, damage reduction for Reeve or the recharge speed, I mean, probably going for the recharge speed here. Damage reduction, I mean, yeah, it is a thing. It's kind of a meme. I mean, 25% damage reduction is nothing to snuff at. It is actually on par with some of the defensive passive abilities, but those passive abilities are passive abilities. This is supposed to be a damaging skill, first and foremost, so we're probably looking for the recharge speed here, I would think, is the direction we want to go. So, yeah, let's do that. As I said, unfortunately, because Miranda is one of these Citadel DLC characters, she is 1 point less than usual squad mates would, which is significant because it's 1 point that she would need in order to get up to rank 6 for Reeve. So kind of stinks. It means we could actually spend a single point in the Cerberus Officer ability, I believe, either for weapons damage or for durability. I mean, we haven't really invested in her durability, so it might make some sense to do that. And she's not a naturally particularly, or she's not on the same level of tankiness as the Krogan or James. And weapons just aren't really her strong point, so I think we might actually just go for the durability here. Okay. And with that, we are good to go. So remember, this is going to be Geth Elite, so this is our first time going against the stronger enemies. Most notably, we're expecting Pyros, and I don't think we saw Hunters in the Foot Soldier difficulty, so we'll probably see some Hunters here as well. I'm guessing those are going to be the 2 additional enemies that we start to have shown up. And no Medigels either. No Medigels, which can certainly complicate things a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's combat night in the Armax Arsenal Arena.
Okay, so no armor effects to turn on here. Or rather, no ammo effects to turn on here. Just make sure people are on the weapons we want them to be on. We'll want to take a position that feels appropriate based on where enemies start spawning in. But I'll be a little preemptive, but we can try to put on a defense drone for Tally. That she is still on, or not on cooldown when things start up. But remember that it does expire if we're not actively in combat, so.
4, 3.
Okay, they're going over there. So I also don't know
1.
if they immediately spawn in with stronger enemies or if it builds up more over time. Rocket Trooper, Geth Bomber. So yeah, it's like the equivalent of the most difficult wave of enemies, the final wave of enemies from the previous encounter.
Kill
Except that's a tech combo that just annihilated them.
streak. 3.
Okay, another Rocket Trooper. Now we don't have great access to grenades, unlike what we had previously with pretty much all of our other teams. So that is going to make it a little bit trickier for us to get the kill streaks sustained. That is a bomber. I know it looks like it's flying, but it kind of isn't. Okay, and we... Like, Miranda, if you would come back more quickly from your cooldown, we could pull off another combo here, but perhaps wait a little bit. By the time we get this energy drain off. Miranda. Overload, please. That was close. That is also a series of grenades. Ow. That hurt. That was a bomber that rushed us down, is where all those grenades came from. We are still on cooldown. Those did not hit you. We need to do that. This bomber's still not dead. Are you serious, dude? Thank you. There's another bomber. Tally, please sabotage this immediately. That, I'm amazed, did not kill us. We only lived because we purged that, except then we got hit by the second one, and we were not in cover. Oops!
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that bomber rushing us down, getting us out of cover, that caused the issues. So, yeah, definitely trickier, but I think it was kind of just an odd set of circumstances. I'm not sure this is really the best spot to be setting up shop in, because there's just too many angles for enemies to be hitting us from. And I just did not even see the bomber making moves on us to begin with. So let's make sure this is on. Let's... not sure if we want Hurricane or Scorpion for Miranda, to be honest. Not sure to what extent the defense drone really ended up working for Miranda. Yeah, and we just, again, we might need to
4, 3.
be set up in this spot. And we could put on defense drone right now, but I think
Starting round.
we would prefer to do this and that.
Zora
Tally. Are you serious, Tally? We don't have medigels.
is down.
We can get to her and revive her manually. She's not that far away, fortunately. But, less than ideal, to say the least. Okay, that's one bomber down.
Kill streak.
Trying to just get it down to one, well, I mean, I was gonna say get it down to one enemy so that we can then revive Tally, but at that point, might as well just finish off the last enemy, right? So maybe that's not so much the case. Okay. That did not prime you? Question mark. Okay, that bomber is starting to try to rush us down. Is that the enemy that appears to be so close to us, or is there a hunter sneaking up on us? I hope it is not that. This doesn't look close enough to be right next to us on the map. I don't see the outline of a hunter. I don't think. We should help Miranda. Okay, bomber down. Through the grenades. But I think those grenades were at Miranda down there. So I think we're safe right now. He says tentatively. But then you ran away when I was trying to target you. So yeah, this is definitely going to be slower than our previous ones. Not the best of timing. Okay, now it's just 2. This one's about to go down.
Kill streak.
So that's the last enemy. Her. And with Tally back up, I mean, might as well, maybe we take a second to get defense drone going.
Round 1 is over.
Okay, I would love to not be positioned here. I'd also love
4,
the enemies did not spawn directly on top of us.
2.
Our teammates went down very quickly last time,
Round 2.
which is obviously not ideal. Okay, so now it's hunters. Yeah. You can see the outlines, and I did not hit them. That acolyte shot, unfortunately. So that means they're going to be a little bit harder to take care of here. But now they're at least showing up a bit. Ow. Should have gotten rid of one of them, I think. Waiting for us to get our shields back. Miranda, I would very much appreciate if you did not stand right next to us when people are firing rockets at us. That rocket trooper go down? I think that's this rocket trooper that we're seeing here. Oh, that's a hunter. Trying to make moves on us. Several hunters, in fact. Why don't we energy drain, chain overload to take care of some of them. Then singularity and warp.
5.
Okay, now this guy. Energy drain you. Miranda is not off cooldown yet.
6.
But we can still detonate.
Is over.
I'm not sure we want to grab this bonus.
5, 4, 3, 2.
So the enemies were, they were kind of going to spawn on top of us. So now we're expecting to see a bunch of pyros, which I think is definitely going to be sabotage time for Tally.
Tally.
If that didn't happen immediately. Now, they were not really in the best position, admittedly, but, you know, it really feels like Tally's just not even having any shield gate at all. So in theory, yeah, there's Pyro. In theory, that acolyte can deal a whole lot of damage to shielded death. Somebody there was primed, but apparently not the enemy that we hit. We are getting someone moving into flank. I did not see what type of enemy it was, though. That's a Pyro. That's also a Pyro. Miranda, as valiantly as you are facing off against those enemies there, you might want to head back over here with us. It's going to be kind of difficult for you to do that in the short term. Oh, that's a Hunter. We can definitely finish off. Yeah, this is Hunter. That's the thing that's flanking us right now.
3.
Okay, nice. Okay, still a lot of enemies up there. A whole lot of enemies over here. So if Miranda could reave and then we double throw over there, that'd not be a bad option. See if we can just pick off this Pyro. If they don't dodge, that is. Should do the trick. I would think. Yeah, so I think in terms of priorities, it's probably Pyros and Hunters first. Really Hunters, because they're going to pursue most aggressively. Then Pyros, Rocket Troopers, as long as we stay back, shouldn't be too much of an issue. It will, of course, continue to rain down rocket fire on us. I tried to ever so slightly switch up our position there. That's a Hunter. As I was saying, Hunters are technically most dangerous. I really want shields back, though, before we pop back up. Oh, Miranda. We're dead. There's Hunter right on top of us, and we don't have shields, so we're dead. Should have had it. Definitely should have had it. Yeah, the problem is, especially with no gels, it's just when squad mates immediately go down, as happened twice with Tally. I think we try to take position up here. Or not.
4, 3, 2, 1. Round 1.
Not loving where we're starting relative to where our opponents are starting. But we kind of didn't get to choose that. That did not work as well as I'd hoped. Oh, we have no cover from this angle, I'm now realizing. Wow. Okay, yeah, so that spot up there that they currently occupy, great spot. Part that we occupy, not a great spot. Also, really hard to see people, and apparently there's a bomber right on top of us. Oh, what I wanted. Oh, right as I was going to tell her to energy drain that dude. She's obviously not far away from us, so it's possible that we can get her. The problem that we've seen is that we are even if it looks like we're behind cover, we are not technically in cover. That is not the person that I think is for. Even if it looks like we're technically in cover, we are not actually in cover when we try to revive people. And that got us. That's actually how we initially died. Actually, on a few occasions. Many times over the course of our campaign. Yeah, Miranda, if you could just, like, honestly fall back right where we are. So you're probably about to go down as well. Oh, hello. Thank you. That's gonna hurt a whole lot for Miranda. That was not very well aimed. I was initially aiming at someone, then realized they were about to die. I was like, okay, hold on, we need a new target. Let's overload to prime and warp to detonate. What the heck? Okay, Miranda, being in any sort of cover. I mean, I know I did tell you to come back here, but at the same time, that's not exactly what I meant. Yet you still get clobbered. You clearly were not primed there. Can't tell if that's just hitting the wall. I think it is. This might be time for a little bit of piercing. I wish you stayed in that spot. That's why I switched weapons. Can actually get Tally up even from over here, which is great. Just Tally, if you could, like, get roughly where Miranda is. And ideally not immediately go down. That's the last enemy, who is continuing to annihilate Callie. She did send a drone out after him, so that's something. Definitely try.
Round 1 is over.
Okay, I mean, I'd like for us to be up here, if possible.
5,
Except this is where the enemies are spawning.
4, 3,
So I'm not sure this is really, like, back there might still be the answer.
2, 1. Round 2.
As much as I hate the angle we have, and I really do hate the angle that we have, it is not easy to hit people. Let's just say we're definitely not getting the 5-minute challenge this time. Callie, you need to back up. Yeah, because this is what I mean, is like we really can't hit them much at all. We have some cover, yes. But we still really can't hit them. Also, that pretty sure did not hit them. Stopped. Oh, that's a hunter. There are hunters in this wave. Also, Shepard, I want you to be in cover, not to be out of cover. Okay, that's one hunter down. Callie's down. That's not the worst place for her to go down, though. That was close. Somehow that's kill streak. Those are missiles headed our way. I think there's still one more hunter coming through. No, maybe it's just that rocket trooper. But again, rocket troopers, I know what I was saying earlier, not the highest priority, but they've done a really good job of laying down suppressive fire. Okay, that's one more down. Whatever this one is, it's definitely starting to advance on us, or at least it feels like that. Not sure where that... There it is. It's somehow not hitting you. We don't really have the right angle to avoid you from here, as we are perhaps about to prove. Because they have actually done a pretty good job of flanking us here. Fortunately, that one is not proven to be all that aggressive. But if it chose to do that, it would become a problem. In fact, ow. So that's why we have the piercing, so that we can still hit you. Kind of waiting for you to pop out of cover, so we can do that. And then that. And that should finish you off. Oh, those are two hunters that I really thought had stopped spawning.
Kill streak. 3.
Please actually revive them. That still hit us. Miranda, no. Don't know what that hit. Not really what we were looking for, but what? Well, that's an interesting singularity. Yeah, go ahead, walk into. What? Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so that's our last enemy in this wave. This one here, who does now have a little bit of armor, unfortunately. That hit you. Not sure that it did. Oh, hello.
End of round 2.
Okay, I mean, that is a spot where a bonus does exist.
5,
What if we go
4,
here?
3, 2, 1. Final round.
So we know it's more hunters, pyros for the first time here. Last time, we saw... That's just never going to work in this range, I don't think. But last time we saw that Tally went down really quickly, and that made matters quite difficult for us. I swear that guy just rolled off the edge of the map. There are definitely hunters that are going to try to hunt us down. That's kind of what they do. However, we sabotage pyros. They can cause a lot of trouble. Please do this. Thank you. Hello, Hunter.
3.
Okay. Now, Rocket Trooper. So the thing is, those pyros did a bunch of the work for us, the ones that we sabotaged.
5.
Nice. And that's probably one of the ones that we sabotaged. In fact, it does almost look like it has the sabotage aura around it. But that's not going to stop us from trying to take it out. Oh, yep. No, we're not done here. We're not done yet, but let's sabotage again.
Kill streak.
Careful, guys. That was probably the enemy that we wanted to sabotage, but remember, with sabotage... Oh. Hello. Remember that with sabotage, it becomes less effective over time, the more that we use it. How are you still alive? They're all coming through this way, theoretically.
Kill streak.
Callie just went down.
Tally's aura is down.
We might just try to see this one out. Ooh. Once again. Not loving the hunters. Assuming those grenade packs give us the, or the ammo packs give us the grenade as well.
Kill streak.
Ow. Somehow that still got us. Is this the last enemy, for what it's worth? I think it's a rocket trooper. It is definitely a rocket trooper.
Understood.
The match is over.
We did it! Little bumpy, but we made it work. Okay, so we did not do it in under 5 minutes, certainly not. Highest kill streak was 6. We had it probably primarily from hijacking the pyros, where we got most of that coming from. And then
This match brought to you by
add all that together, and that gets us almost at 5,000, still in the silver territory, not the gold territory. That is our score. It's actually surprisingly close to 5 minutes. It was just 6 something, but just over 6. A lot of it was from pausing in the power menu. But that was the no meta-gel challenge, which certainly complicated things a little more than I was expecting it to, since we did obviously amp it up to the elite challenge as well. Oh, and yeah, the match has been completed successfully. Check private messages for a reward. So the other thing that we needed was to unlock a specific arena on the on the elite difficulty. So I think that means we're looking to trade down here into bronze prizes. And we're at least looking to pick up Spin Zone was the one in question. So let's grab that. And then before we allocate our other 2 bronze rewards, let's see what other things we might be looking for quests.
Lost. It sure did. Even that team of Hanar beat your score. And they played before. Not to kick you while you're down, but I think you owe me twice now. Once for the Parlophone patch, and once for this. Fine effort.
Yeah, here. Hey, since I know you have it, can I borrow a couple hundred credits?
What for?
I think I need some gear. Maybe some metagel.
But it's purely a simulation. Is it not? Anyways, let's take a look at our emails here. Telemetry from Eloise Aaron. Hi, Commander Shepard. Huge fan. Interested in making you better. Attached is a spreadsheet to track your real metrics, not just the fresh from the water pap the arena computers give you. It's a system of my own design, which is to say, it's more intensive than some Armax employees' bare bones idea of statistical analysis. With this, you should be able to up your hit-to-kill ratio, reducing running distance to avoid fatigue, and post the results for all to see. High-def instructional vids included. EE. Error. Attachment exceeds allowable file size. Oh dear. Not quite. Not this time. Then the wrong side of history from Warrior 2200. I don't know why you do matches against Cerberus. I thought you had a good sense of what humanity needs, but I guess that just isn't the case. I'm not a racist, but I think it's pretty clear Cerberus has been singled out as the whipping boy for everyone in the galaxy. Seriously, they televise matches where people shoot them like dogs, but I bet it'll be a cold day in hell when they let you shoot council races or alliance soldiers. Yeah, you know, it's kind of different. It's kind of different, buddy. That's what you get when arena management answers to the Turians, I guess. Blake, terrible take. Sorry, buddy. I see what you're getting at, but terrible take. And clearly, yes, you are just a Cerberus sympathizer. Or a contrarian. This one eats its cranial covering. It's Blastofan again. Commander Shepard, are the numbers for Blastofan changing every time? I feel like they might be. It might be the same guy just with the alternate accounts that are almost exactly the same name. This one did not think it possible, but it is willing to say your victory... No, it must be the same one, because it's the guy that gave us the challenge. For no Metagel. But this one is willing to say your victory in the simulator is legitimate. This one, and an acquaintance, watched the video feeds and reviewed the biometric information. After considerable argument, it concedes that your vital signs never smoothed out as if performance enhancers were used. Now this one is wondering if you would enjoy a correspondence about tactical circumstances. It has found getting kill streaks on the Reaper super elites challenging. Cordially interested, the one and only Blastofan. It's the one and only Blastofan. Clearly, it is not multiple people with Blastofan accounts, or the same person with different Blastofan numbered accounts. Lead in imagery from the Hour 20 news team. Commander Shepard, we here at the Hour 20 news desk have been running pieces on the war's progress, and would like your cooperation in a small matter. We're searching for an iconic bit of footage for our lead-in to the segments, but most of our Reaper-related battle footage has issues with bad lighting, unstable cameras, and significant amounts of risk. Yeah, you don't say. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Armax Arsenal Arena records its sessions. We'd like your permission to comb through videos of your fighting Reaper enemies for use in our segment. Relevant forms for using your likeness are attached, and will compensate you for your time. For maximum visual effect, we want only you in the shots. Just enter the simulator and fight Reaper enemies alone, and our visual composers can do the rest. So remember, we have the choice of bringing along the usual 2 squad mates, the 1 squad mate that we've occasionally gone with at times, or going solo, which is not something we've had all that often. So it is theoretically possible, though, and in this case, that's what they're looking for us to do. And I'm betting on you. From Hoshiri Saburo, Commander Shepard, we're big fans of yours out on the asteroid belts, and we're working double time to try to get the raw materials out for the war effort. I was hoping you could settle a bet we're having. The issue is thermal clips. A friend of mine says they're the worst thing to happen to our military in 50 years. They take time to reload, create effective ammo shortages, blah, blah, blah. I say, if you can conserve shots and use biotics or omni-tool weapons, ammo shortages don't mean squat. Can you do a match where there aren't any thermal clips lying around? Against these big bad collector things we're hearing about? Are you hearing about collectors nowadays? We have not encountered any collectors in the Mass Effect 3 campaign. Whole lot in Mass Effect 2, but none in Mass Effect 3 outside of the arena. I can totally cut you in for half the bet if you do. In for the win, Saburo. Okay. So lots of new stuff for us. Reaper Solo Challenge. Thermal Clip Challenge. Is that all? And we turned in the one for not using any Metagel. So again, you can combine multiple of those challenges simultaneously if you have all the stuff unlocked to set it up. But many of those things we were just talking about are silver rewards, I think. Because we have the no Metagels, but someone was asking for no ammo crates. That's a silver one that we just traded down into bronze so that we could do the elites plus the spin, whatever, the spin to win arena. So, other stuff we've not yet... Oh, and Reapers is another one that we would need for silver reward. So, in that case, we'll just use more of our bronze prizes here to perhaps unlock additional friends. And so if we're looking for elite enemies, and this time we'll probably have the Metagels. So Tali worked great against Geth when we were able to get her her sabotage off, and the latter, maybe just the final wave. But she just kept on going down so quickly, which I think is mostly just, unfortunately, she was out of cover more than anything, but I don't know. Kasumi is also good against Geth in particular. We just have lots of shielded enemies of one variety or another here until we unlock Reapers, who are very low on shields, much higher on armor and barriers, which is generally something that's going to be more of a natural fit for us. That tends to be a much better faction for biotics to go against. I think Saeed could actually be a decent option for anti-shield stuffs. Kasumi, a little bit as well. So, perhaps we get the license for those two. Let's do that. Okay. Let's go that route. Saeed and Kasumi, obviously both of whom were squad mates of ours in Mass Effect 2. And that was, I think, our highest score by a significant margin. Excuse me, James. Excuse me? How dare you? How dare you, James?